So this week's process was sponsored by Shlomi Feintuch, in honor of his father's yahrzeit, which was yesterday, Shmuel ben Moshe, and in honor of his grandmother's yahrzeit, which was on Achron Shal Pesach, and her name was Lina Bas. Let's see if I can remember it by heart. If you don't, let me look it up. Lina Bas. Rabbi Yitzchak Yeshua. So him trying to over there. I think today is also the yahrzeit of Rabbi Victor Miller's tzal. Okay, so let's see the Heilig Gemara. We were in the middle of analyzing a pasuk, and to get an understanding of the different sizes of the nesachim to accompany different animals. And the pasuk that we were discussing was quoted at the bottom of Yudalit Amud Beis, and the pasuk is as follows. Read it inside over here. Focus. Kocha Yosy Lashur Ha'echad Oila Ayla Echad, and that's where we learned that the bakar has one shear. It doesn't make a difference if it's young or if it's old. Oila Ayla Echad Oila Seb Bakvasim Oila Izim. So the Gemara darshans this possible. So yesterday we learned Magid Shalachalak Ben Nischei Egel LeNischei Shah. There's no difference in the nesachim of an egel, a calf, or a shur, an ox, which is a full-size animal, unlike the sheep that we said it makes a difference. How big the sheep are, how old the sheep are, to the nesachim of a shur or an egel are all the same. Then the pasuk says oila ayil. What is the pasuk teaching us by saying oila ayil? Lama nemar. Shahaya bedin. You would have thought imatzanu shechilek ben nischei ben shala ben shana nischei ben shnasayim. We find that by a sheep and a ram, if it's 1 year old, it gets a smaller nesachim. If it's over a year old, it gets a bigger nesachim. So you might think, maybe when the animal finishes its second year and is in its third year, maybe it should also upgrade the nesachim that are brought there. The ayil is all one set of nesachim. No matter how old it is, it always retains its name as an ayil. Oila sevek vasim, lama nemar. Why does it say that? Shaya b'din. So lekach nachlok b'nischei kasval u'nischei rachel. The same way by a male animal, this species of sheep versus ram, we make a difference in the nesachim once it reaches a year old. So maybe by the female of this men, you should have the same difference. Which tells us that if female, it's the same nesachim the whole time. Why does it say goats? You see by the sheep, there's a difference between if it's less than a year old or more than a year old. So maybe so too we should make a difference between the goat and the older goat. I don't know the exact identifications of how the animals are called. The Torah is telling us that when it comes to izim, it doesn't matter if it's a newborn or if it's very old; they're all the same. They're all have the same nesachim. But just to summarize, the bakar doesn't make a difference how old it is. The izim, it doesn't make a difference how old it is, and the female sheep, it doesn't make a difference how old it is. The only place where we make a distinction in the age is from a sheep to a ram, which is 1 year to 2 years. Okay, let's see the Heilig Gemara weiter. Sagt the Heilig Gemara weiter. V'shem hayoim kasher. So we were saying that they would write the date on the little soda ticket so that someone wouldn't pick it up the next day. Think about it if it's going to help. If they just wrote the name of the day, for instance, the day of the week, what's the big deal? This fellow won't use it today, he'll use it next week. there was one mishmar per week, one family of Kohanim per week that did avoid in the Beis Hamikdash. So they wrote the family of the Kohanim that were on that. So there's a day of the week, and there's identification of which week it was.
Why wouldn't they just write the full date?
That's what the Gemara ends up saying. Because the Gemara says again, Hagabatzcha, Shezai Goisha Mishmar.
I don't know what was the Havamina to begin with. I mean, when we did it in the mission, that's what I thought that was they were doing to begin with.
I think all the Gemara is explaining why all this information was required. So I think we explained the Mishnah according to the Maskana of the Gemara. But the question is why do we need all this identification? So the Gemara is providing information. So if you didn't have all this information, there would still be room for some type of a scandal. So they can wait till next year, and they'll have the same day of the week in that mishmar. Like Dubi says, it'll have an exact date. So therefore, it expires after that date. So therefore, I feel right to Zayg, 8 months to Zayg. There's no way you can forge this because it has a very precise date. Dr. Mishnah Halacha Dal. There were two special lishkas rooms in the Beis Hamikdash. Achas lishkas chashoyin. One is the discreet lishka. The achat lishkas hakelim. One was the lishka of the kelim. Lishkas chashoyin. The lishka that was called the discreet lishka. Yirechet noisn l'soicha b'chashoyin. People who were yirechet and they wanted to help others who couldn't afford their korbanos. They would put money into this room in a hidden way, Matan B'Seiser. And therefore, if there are anim who needed money, they would be able to go get money from that lishka. So this way, the Oni didn't know who the Noisen was. Again, in a private, discreet manner. Zog to Gemara, Zog to Mishnah weiter. Lishkas HaKelim, what was that?
Is this for Karbanas?
It seems like not. It says Misparnis in Mimena. So Misparnis in Mimena means they had Parnasa from it. So it sounds like this was just a tzedakah room.
Wow. I don't think I ever heard of that.
I didn't see the art scroll. If he says it's for Karbanas, but the lashon of the Taklan is Misparnis in there. Let me see what he says over here.
So the Beis Hamikdash was...
themselves.
So Beis Hamikdash was dishing out money to Aniyim?
That's what it looks like.
Well, why?
It says it's actually for aristocratic families that sustain themselves from it discreetly.
Right, so they lived off it. It wasn't shot that it wasn't the fund for people who had karbanos to bring. It was money to take home to buy your whatever you need.
Well, okay.
So the Beis Hamikdash was also a place where people came to get tzedakah. You know, it's very funny. There's a lot of yard sites with Ledebish yard sites that people go to Europe. So the Shayla Kestir, his yard site is coming up soon, and there's huge crowds of people who go to Kestir on these days, and everyone goes because they want to get hashpah of money because their Shayla was known to bring Yidin Parnasa. But when you go there, you realize everyone's going there to get money, but you don't realize that half of the people there are the targets of the other people who are going, because half the people who are going to get money are really going to be giving away money, because there's more Mashalachim there than anywhere else. When you ask them, I don't understand this. If you don't have money to live and you're snoring money, what are you doing here? He says, no, someone lent me money as an investment so that I can come here and approach people here. Okay. Zog Tehela Gemara Vayter. So how did the Lishkas HaKelim work? Call me, Shahum Isnadavti. If somebody had an item, a utensil that he wanted to donate, Zarker L'Saychot, he would throw that keli into that room. The Achas L'Shloshim Yom, and once a month, HaGizbarim Poischenoisa, the Gizbarim would open up this room to see what was in there. The whole Kalisha Matsu by Tzorech LeBedek. If there's any type of tool that Bedek needed, and the example is given like a hammer or something, some tool that would be used to fix the Beis Hamikdash. They would leave that there. In other words, they would actually use that actual tool. But if there's any tools in there or any items that have no direct value to be used by the Beis Hamikdash, Nim Koren, they would sell it on Kijiji, Udumayan Neuflin Lebelekabayis. And whatever money they get out of it would go to Belekabayis. So whatever they could use, they used. Whatever they couldn't use, they sold. Zok the Hilig Gemara. They were people who were in charge. They were people who gave tzedakah. They were wealthy people who gave tzedakah. Could be they were mamuna. They were the mamunim to give the money out. They would give Reb Chama, the father of Yeshua, a dinner. They would give him money, even though he likely didn't need money. And he would give it to other people. Poor people would be embarrassed to reach out to the Parnasim for money. So therefore, Reb Chama accepted the humiliation on himself. He was the one who said, I'm the Ani, please give me the money. And then he would distribute it quietly to the Anim who would be embarrassed to approach the Moshe directly. Rabbi Zechariah Chasas Rabbi Levi, Rabbi Zechariah, the son of Rabbi Levi, everybody would badmouth him. Amrin, they would say, the Leitzarech Vunasav Min the Damach. He has money, he doesn't need the Parnasa, yet he's still taking from the public tzedakah funds. So people spoke ill about him. Batkin, when they checked up on him, the Ashkechan, they found that once again, he was being muvaz himself to take them tzedakah, and he even created a bad reputation for himself, but he wasn't keeping any of that money. He was delivering it to people who were needy, but were embarrassed. Like the Talmud says, they were embarrassed to take their revenue from the Gabbai. And therefore he took what they needed because he didn't need it. I remember
our skull says this is after he died.
Oh, after he died, they found out. Oh, so it's like Yosy, the holy miser. Suddenly there's no one to give these people money. So they keep it in Gabbai.
It says Minden Damach, it says when he died.
Thank you very much. I missed that. Thank you. When he died, they found this out. Rabbi China, my papa, have a maflig mitzvah b'layla. He would give tzedakah at night, once again, so people should know. Chadzman, pagabe rafa in the rechaya. He's draining sich in the streets at night. He met the one at the head of the bad ruchas. I don't know if it was shade. It was a bad thing, a bad ruach. Omer lei. So the bad ruach told him, "How dare you infringe on my zone? Loichin alfen Rabbi leisasek v'oreacha." Didn't you realize that we have the nights where we reign at night? So what business do you have infringing on our time, walking around the streets at night when it's really our reign there? Amalei. So Chidna answered back, does it not say in the pasuk, Matan b'seiser yichva'at? If you're giving tzedakah b'seiser, that overcomes the anger of Hashem. In other words, I'm not susceptible. Like a shlich mitzvah, I'm not susceptible to any type of danger. So I have a right to be here. So these ruchim got really spooked, and ran away from him because they were afraid of him. Okay, it doesn't say lucky is the one who gives money to another. It doesn't say that. Ella, let's ancient one. Ella. It says lucky is the one who thinks how to make things better for the dal. This is someone who analyzes the mitzvah, not that he doesn't just do the mitzvah of tzedakah, but he thinks, how can I do it in the best possible way? As the Talmud says, it shouldn't have anything that takes away from it. What did the Rebbeinu do? When he saw an ani who was once wealthy, so it's very embarrassing for him to ask for tzedakah, and therefore he might even starve to death because he would be embarrassed to ask for help. What he would do is he would say, since I heard about you, I heard you had a windfall. So even though now you're down on your luck, but I know just a matter of time till the tremendous shears of your windfall will reach you. So therefore, I don't mind lending you money now because I know you'll be able to pay me back. Toil, that pareya, you could take now, and when you already get those resources, then you'll be able to pay me back. Man have an osif. So once he took it, once the fellow took it, and he wasn't embarrassed to take it because it looked like it was just a loan. Have amalei matan hilach. They said, you know what? You don't have to bother paying me back. So therefore, that was called maskal do because he figured out how he could provide help to someone in need without humiliating the person. My brother-in-law wants money. How much money should I lend him, and how much? So he said, with family members, this is free will. With family members, you should lend as much money as you want if you're willing to lose. If you're willing to lose, yeah. I hear. Okay. Zog to go weiter. Chibar ada is hava sabin biyuminayin. There was old people who lived in his days. Yameinu have his Canaan. Man have a yovel ben reshasa with tumar. If you gave them to the between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, have an asin. However, when Basar and after Yom Kippur, loy have an asin. They stopped to accept charity. Amrin, they would say, that you see they draw in Ois Aleph, they would say, Rishusha Gabon. There's different gears over here. The Shoshan Gabon. And the Taklon explains very interesting, is that they knew that in the Nois of Shal Adam are Chubim Rosh Hashanah. But on Yom Kippur is when that's sealed. So therefore, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, where their Mizonis are not kosher yet, it's still up in the air, they figure they'll take because they'll benefit from it. But once Yom Kippur came and the Mizonis of us Ksuvin, we had no reason to take because we're going to get whatever was paskin for us to get, whether or not we get this help. So they said there's no reason for us to take anymore. We already have we already have access to what we're going to get. I hear. Nechemi Ishichin Paga by Yerushalmi Yachad. Nechemi Ishichin met a Yerushalmi. Amalei Zechei Imi Chadet Tanavelta. So this is beautiful. When the people came to ask him for tzedakah, they didn't say that I need you to do me a favor. I want to help you. Be zoiche by giving me money to buy this delicacy called a tainagolta. So he was asking him for something that was a luxury. Like the Taklon says, "Asay imi tzedakah, Moshe Kosev Yosy Mima Shabal Abayis Oyse Ima Oni Ha'ani Oyse Balabayis Shenemar B'Shem Isha Sharasisi." So once again, it's a nusach that the person doing the chesed is the one who's benefiting. So Rabbi Nechemi says, I don't have to give you money for such delicacies like tanagolta. I'm going to give you money just for a standard piece of meat. Amale halach to misa to kufa. This is money for a piece of meat. You don't need to have such fancy delicacies. V'zavan kufa. This fellow took the money and bought the meat that he was able to buy with the money. V'achel, he ate it to miss, he died. Because when he ate the basar shor, he died. Why? Because he was a delicate guy. He was used to fancier foods like tanagolta. By eating this meat, which was something that was a little bit too rough for him, he ended up dying from it. And Reb Nechemia took responsibility for it. By tzavach la'amar, he would cry and he would say, "Boyu v'sibtu laharugay shal Nechemia." Come say a hesped for the murder victim of Nechemia. So Reb Nechemia actually took responsibility for killing this person by not acknowledging and realizing that this fellow needed what he asked for, and I should never have cheaped out with him and told him he shouldn't buy tanagolta.
This is another raya that the fowl was more choshev than meat in ancient times, and we see that from the Bnei Yisrael asked for basar and they got slav.
So it wasn't a downgrade; it was an upgrade.
It was an upgrade. So
in those days, chicken was a bigger delicacy.
Yeah, I think so.
What's that? I said it was right. Yeah, it's a chicken. Very interesting. I wonder. Okay, I wonder if the reason is because basar b'chalav is only on basar, and many people don't want to become fleishiks. So tanagolta with their raisa is a way to be able to have meat and still be milchiks, so they can have their cake, they can have their cheesecake right after their chicken with their raisa. But yeah, but vice versa was a bigger dog.
You eat it together with chicken?
With the raisa, there's no issue. With the raisa, there's no issue. That's why it's only the one.
Cottage cheese and chicken on top of the chicken.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking of having chicken with cottage cheese. I would be thinking more of having like a cheesecake for dessert. Oh, okay. Yeah. He talked to more. He was bringing a gift. He was going to honor, to show respect to his in-laws. He met a mukash china, obviously an ani, and the Takum says, "Nira la'ain." It was obvious. You look at this person; he was not a well person, and the not well person approached him, asking him for money. Please do a schus with me and help me with whatever you have. I'm hungry. Please give me food. He said, and Nachmish Gamzu didn't realize in what dire straits this fellow was. And therefore he said, I'm in the middle of going to do a mitzvah, I'm in the middle of going to bring a gift, my in-laws. Michser chazer. Michser, when I come back. On my way back, first let me deal with the mitzvah that I'm involved with right now, of bringing this gift to my in-laws. When I come back, I'll already give you whatever you want. By the time he came back, he saw that this fellow had passed away already. Omar, Omar, Lekible, and he said to, I don't know who the Kibbutz, the people who came there. He says, Einaya de Chaminach, V'lo Yisbain Loch, my eyes that saw you and didn't give you, if the gears should change in sense, Yahavalach, Yistamyan, they should become blind. Yodei, the Lepashtan, Meyitin the hands of mine that didn't stretch out to give you money, Yiskatin should be cut off. Raglayid Layratan Lameitanach, my legs that didn't run to help you, Yitbrin they should break. Umatza came. And in fact, all of these horrible things happened to Nachum Gamzu. He accepted upon himself these terrible punishments. Salak Lagabe Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva came to him and saw Nachum Gamzu in such a bad situation. He's blind, he lost his hands, his legs. So Rabbi Kiva said, Amrlei, Oili, woe is to me, Shani Roya Oischa Bekach. I see you in such a bad situation. Amrlei, Nachum Gamzu says, what are you talking about? Oili, She'enani Roya Oischa Bekach. It's bad for me that I don't see you that way. In other words, he's like saying, it's a shame, Rabbi Kiva, that you don't have the Yisurim that I have. Amrlei, Rabbi Kiva was taken aback. Ma'at Mekalelini, you're cursing me that I should have such Yisurim? So Nachum Gamzu answered, unbelievable. Don't you appreciate the value of Yisurim? It's a good thing to have Yisurim. It cleans your neshama. It seems like Nachum Gamzu's bracha was Mekuyim at the end of Rabbi Kiva's life. So Nachum Gamzu gave what he felt was a bracha to Rabbi Kiva, and he was like taken aback that Rabbi Kiva didn't appreciate the value of this beautiful bracha. Zok to Gemara Vayter. You have to be careful which Rabbanim you ask brachas for. You have to make sure that your value system appreciates what they consider wonderful. Because if not, you can end up in trouble. Hoshia Rabba have a rabbi, the Berei Chatzaginayr. The great Hoshia, he had a malamed for his son, and the son's malamed happened to have been blind. Out of respect for this rabbi, for this malamed, every day Rav Hoshia Rabba would eat with him, would dine with him. Chadzman, one day, Havale Orchen, he had guests, and he didn't join the meal, he didn't eat with this Melamed, he ate with the guests and not with the Melamed. The Ramsha in the evening, Solak Rabbi, Rav Hoshia Rabba went to this Melamed to apologize. He told him, Lo yichas mari alai, please don't be upset with me. Begin to have a li orchin, because I didn't eat with you, because I had orchin, yom in this day. The Amish, I said, the loy livzuye biyakri demari. They shouldn't be mevaza, the covet of you, yom on this day. Why would they be mevaza? Because they didn't know you. They didn't know you. they'll come to the meal sitting with this blind guy, not realizing he's a choshev, and maybe they wouldn't have treated you with a proper respect, and that's why I figured I won't even have you at that meal. And that is the reason why I didn't eat with you today. So, if this Rebbe was slighted that Reb Hoshi didn't dine with him, now that Reb Hoshi explained it, he realized that he wasn't disrespected. It was for his own good, so he felt better. He didn't feel like, hey, what happened today? Amalei, and he benched Reb Hoshi as follows: Ata piasta leman the mischami v'loichami. You are Matthias, me, a blind person who can be seen, but I cannot see. So therefore, Dain the Chami v'loy mischayim, the Rebbeinu Shalom, who can see that cannot be seen, Yekabel Piyusach should always be Mekabel your tefillas. A beautiful, creative bracha. Amalei, Rav Hoshi Rab said, wow, what a beautiful bracha. Hadaminolach, where did you get this creative idea to give me such a beautiful bracha? Amalei, Rab Elazar ben Yaakov, I actually heard this from Rab Elazar ben Yaakov. Rab Elazar ben Yaakov, oil chad, the sagi nahira lakarti. There was a person who was blind who came to his city. And Rab Elazar ben Yaakov, I guess they were at a chasna together. And Yosef Rab Elazar ben Yaakov l'ramine. Rab Elazar ben Yaakov insisted on sitting right near this blind person. The Yemron, so this way people will say about this person, the Lulei Davibar Nosha Rabba, if he wasn't a Choshev Yid, Lo Yosef Rab Elazar ben Yaakov l'ramine. He wouldn't, if Rab Elazar ben Yaakov was sitting near him and associates with him, ooh, this must be a Choshev person, and therefore, Abdin Le Parnasa de Ikra. People saw a new man in town, they went out of their way to give this person Parnasa in a nice way. So Reb Elazar ben Yaakov's objective was fulfilled. He wanted to help this person merely by associating with him, and therefore people helped him out. Amar Loin, Mao Hakan. So he asked the people who were being so nice and giving him Parnasa, why are you going out of your way to give me Parnasa? Amar Loin told him, what do you mean? You're at Rebbe Shainikel. Reb Elazar ben Yaakov, Yosef l'Raminoch. Reb Elazar ben Yaakov is sitting with you, he's hanging out with you. That means you must be something special. So obviously, we're going to help you. So when this blind person saw what Reb Elazar ben Yaakov did for him, it's Tluya love had it loisa. And therefore he made this tefillah for Reb Elazar ben Yaakov, which is where I learned it from. He said as follows: Ata gamalta chesed leman de mischami v'loichami. You did chesed for someone who could be seen but cannot see, because this person was blind. Then so too the chami v'loy mischami, the Rebbeinu Shalom, who sees but cannot be seen, Yigmal Yasa Chesed should do Chesed for you. So Rav Hoshi Rabbe's Melamed said, I heard this story, I love this bracha, and now that you did Chesed for me as a blind person, I'm also giving you the same bracha. I hear, but I think it Pasha shot would be is that it invokes the Midah Keneged Midah. It's invoking the Midah Keneged Midah. That's how I would understand the Pasha shot. I didn't see the article. Reb Chama bar Chanina, Reb Hoshia have a Thailand, the island Kanishta Delut. They were strolling through the beautiful shuls in the city of Lut. Amar Reb Chama bar Chanina Reb Hoshia, Kama Mama and Shiku Avoisakan. He was very proud. Look at the generosity of my family and how much money they pumped in to this Beis Medrash Shabanu Batachnis Helo. Look at the plaques of the beautiful buildings that my family gave. Amar Lei, so Reb Hoshia told Reb Chama, I'm not impressed. Amar Lei Kama Nefosha Shiku Avoisachkan. Who knows how many people starved to death over here because Leihava is B'nai Nash, the Loin de Raisa, were there no Talmudic Chachamim there? I'm sure there's tons of Talmudic Chachamim in the city of Lud that were starving, that didn't have money. And you parents, what did they do? They built this beautiful building. They should have rather helped and supported the Talmudic Chachamim. Rav Avin Ovid Elin Hare, He made beautiful, beautiful new gates. He paid.
They didn't do that either.
I'm just saying what he told him back. This is the story. This is the story. He said, "Don't be so proud of the beautiful buildings. You should have given them money. You should have given it to the koil. Why are you building a new shul? Give it to the koil." Maybe, but apparently, Reb Chama must have known that he didn't. Could be Reb Chama was the children of one of those koil families, and he starved to death, and he never got an African present. So he said, "I wish you'd have given the money, tell me to come, then I would have gotten my rollerblades that I asked for." Okay, so Zok to Gemara about Reb Avin Abed Ilan Tarei, the Sidra. He made for the Besmedrash, for the yeshiva, he made beautiful, beautiful gates. He made beautiful gates. The Sidra Rabbi. Let's see what he says over here in the Taklim. The Taichik. Where's my Taklim? There it is. Tarayu Shari Besmedrash Agad. Made big, beautiful gates for the Besmedrash. Okay. Sidra Rabbi, so the big Besmedrash. Also, Rabban Lagabay, everyone that came to him, who we're talking about again, it's Reb Avin. Reb Avin made this beautiful donation, these beautiful gates. You know, you see, you go into shuls, it says, Shar somebody, Shar Shloima, because they paid for it, the Ilu Nishma Shloima, right? So what happened, Rabban came to him and told him, Amalek Chami, my Avdus, look what I did. Look at this beautiful, I want to show you these beautiful gates that I donated. Amalek, he quoted him a pasuk back. Yishgach Yisrael, as I say you. Klal Yisrael forgot HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them by Yivinei Chalos, and instead built beautiful buildings. Lehava b'nei Nash Dilin B'Yaisa. There were no Talmid Chachamim that you could have given the money to. So I'm not impressed with your big, beautiful gates that you bought. Your money could have been spent much better elsewhere. Now we're getting back to our mission.
No, it's not a good idea.
That's right. That's right. It's not awesome. We learned over there. Kachim is beach, maitzin eseroy lahem mikachim belekabayis. What happens if they run out of money? They run out of shekalim completely, and they still need money for kabbalas. So the halach is they're allowed to dip in to the maintenance funds of the Beis Hamikdash to take money to buy kabbalas. So kachim is beach, maitzin eseroy lahem mikachim belekabayis. But ain't kachim belekabayis. My teen is a royal mikachim mizbeach. But if they need the money for the upkeep of the building, they're not allowed to take the funds from the shekalim. The loy kachim belekabayis, mikachim belekabayis, and you cannot take kachim belekabayis from kachim belekabayis. So, which means you cannot take something from kachim belekabayis to service the kachim belekabayis. The problem with that is up to Gemara, is Matanina we learned just now, Kli Shematzu Boy Tzorech Lebedekabayis. We said that if you find some need from a keli that was donated to Bedekabayis, Manichin Oysa, you leave it. By Sharim Karin, Udemeim Noifim Lebedekabayis. So if the Brisa says you're not supposed to repurpose Bedekabayis, how could this Mishnah say you do that? That's what it means. It doesn't mean we're taking a keli away from Bedek Habayis to repurpose it for something else. Everything is going to be for Bedek Habayis. If the actual keli can be used for Bedek Habayis, then you use the actual keli for Bedek Habayis, not for anything else. And if the keli has no value in and of itself to be used for Bedek Habayis, then you sell, but vital the money goes to upkeep, so nothing is being repurposed at all. It doesn't mean you're taking a keli and you're using it for something else. Everything is going to stick to the maintenance funds of the Beis Hamikdash. So now we're going to get into a number of interesting things that went on in the Beis Hamikdash that the Mishnah shares with us. Halach Aleph Mishnah. Shloisha Asar Shofars. There were 13 shofars, which means there were 13 pushkas that were in the Beis Hamikdash. And like we said before, a shofar means it's narrow on the top and wide at the bottom. So just like a pushka, you put money in, you can't get money out. Pushka is like a one-way street. Shloisha Asar Shulchanos, there were 13 tables, which the Gemara is going to explain what they're for. And Shloisha Asar Shachavayos, there were 13 places where you bow down the mikdash. You know, when you go sightseeing, there's these places where they're called Kodak places. You have a sign, this is a good place to take a picture. So in the Beis Hamikdash, they used to have not this is a good place to take a selfie, this is a good place to bow down to the Rebbeinu. So Bishop Gamliel, so Bishop Chananya Skanakayanim, these families, they actually bow down in 24 places, not just 13 places, but 24 places. The Heichen Haisa, Yisera, where were there extra places? So from 13 to 24 is 11. So Kenegadir Eitzim, they bow down where the shed was, where the wood was kept. Why there? They had a tradition from their parents. This obviously was in the second Beis Hamikdash. Shesham ha'aron nignas, that there in that area of the Beis Hamikdash is where the Aron was buried, so they bowed down there. There was a story with a kohen. He was doing his avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. He saw one floor tile that looked like it didn't belong, meaning that maybe you could lift it up and maybe there's a chamber underneath it. So he saw this unusual thing. He found this. He made a discovery. He wanted to tell his friend about it. He said, "Look what I found. I might have found the opening to a secret passage." Like his book Ligmor Esadover, he couldn't even finish telling over this discovery until he passed away. So they figured out that must be where the Aron is Gonas, and like the saying goes, if I tell you, then I have to kill you. In order for the word not to be spread, he had to be removed.
It's not a good way to keep the secret. Now everybody knows. That's exactly where it is.
How do you know the story if he wasn't able to speak and then he died?
So the question: how do anybody even know about it?
Yeah, I was curious about the same thing.
I don't know. That's not Mervaz's story. That's right. I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't have a chance to look at the arch codes. I don't know if he says anything. Did he say anything? Let's see if he says anything. 12 and 13.
I think it could be speculation. Just
Says they drew conclusions based on what happened.
that's right.
But it's not clear if it was discovered. If it wasn't discovered, it seems like it was discovered. I don't know. Let's see the Gemara. They were crooked. They were thin on top, which means you could drop a coin in. You can't get your hand and take anything out. But they're mine, because if the pushka is open, you don't just put a penny in the pushka. You stick your hand in to make believe you're taking change. You might end up taking out more than you put in. Right? Someone once told me that there are people who buy Zichem Binyamins, they go into the pushkas and shul, they unload their Zichem Binyamins, and they take back cash. And it's a way of laundering money. And I was told that people launder a lot of money by taking cash out of the pushka and putting in Zichem Binyamins. So basically, if you want a tax write-up, get all your money back, you just take $100 of Zichem Binyamins, you get a receipt for it, you throw it into a pushka, and take it $100 in coins. Zok the Gemara weiter. So Tani Hashavich Allah Akumas Hoyu Choros Melamal Barachus Melamata Mepnei Ramoy. Tani B'Shem Belozar Ha'aron Gola Iman Lebavla. I don't know why the Aron went with them in Bavel, with them to Bavel and Golas. My time. How do you know that? So the pasuk says, let's see the whole pasuk inside. It says Lo Yivaser. There's what else is it? There is base, right? Base, and it's possible over here. Everything that's in your house will be carried away. And then it says Lo Yivaser Davar. Not one item will be left behind. Amar Hashem. Everything will go into those. So we learn from there. Ain Davar. When we say Lo Yivaser Davar, what does Davar mean? Elosha Dibrois L'Soicha. It's alluding to the Aron that the Aseres Dibrois are in there. So when it says Lo Yivaser Davar, it's referring to Aron. V'cheinu Eimer Uluchuvas Lashana Shalach Hamelach Lubuchanetzer VeYuvel Bavela Im Klei Chemda Space Hashem. What are the Ezel Klei Chemes Beis Hashem? Zeh ha'aron, that is the aron. So once again, you see that the aron was went into Golus to Bob. The aron never went into Golus. The aron was hidden in its place, in the same place, I guess, underground. Like it says in the pasuk, "Vayarichu abadim, vayiru rashi abadim." Let me read the pasuk inside. Vayarichu habadim, vayiru rashi abadim in the kodesh. You were able to see the rashi abadim from the kodesh up there. Vayyiru achutza, vayusham atayom hazeh, meaning it never ever left that area. It's still in the base of Mikdash. Okay, 1 second. So let's see what it says over here in the pasuk. Let me just see the gears here. So he brings down the end of the pasuk. It says that they were seen. They were seen from the Hechel, and you're teaching that they were not seen. Ela nirin v'loy nirin. You were able to see them, but you couldn't see them. What does that mean? Bolton the yoitin kishnei dada yisha. So when you were standing in the Hechel, you couldn't actually see the bottom because the bottom didn't go in to the Hechel. Rather, they just protruded through the curtain, so it looked like two protrusions, two things pushing out of the curtain, which looked like the breasts of a woman because they also stick out. Rabban Amri, the lishkas dira eitzim haya aron ganas. Rabban said that where was the aron hidden? It was hidden in the lishkas dira eitzim. Like we said, he das chachamim the yuma sham. That's the das chachamim in the second yuma, and that's why we have over here in our Mishnah that they bow down by the dira eitzim. There was a kind of balmum. He was being mafatzel eitzim, which the Takman says boidik mitelas. So he was cleaning wood. The deer eitzim was doing his work. And he saw that there was one area of the floor that looked a little different than the neighboring tiles. Echad min hatablois. One of the tiles of marble on the floor, it seemed to be a little bit taller than the other ones. The haven, he understood, that it was removed after it was put in place. So he saw something unusual about it. He told his friend, come see this floor. It's a little bit different than the neighboring tiles. Like his book, Ligmar Sadover, he couldn't finish his point, which means maybe he couldn't show him where it was. He wanted to show him where it was. He couldn't actually show him where it was. You do beichad to Shamar and Gunners. So could be they knew it was in the Deir Eitzim, that's where he was working, but maybe they didn't know exactly which one it was, so it wasn't revealed, but they knew it was in that area.
He said, come back with me. I'm going to show you.
And he never made it back. Right, so that's what they knew it was in the Deir Eitzim, but they didn't know precisely where. Why only he noticed that the tile was sticking up and not anybody else? That I don't know.
Maybe he was very short. No, serious.
Short people notice.
He was on the floor.
Okay,
So they're closer to the floor.
I hear. Zaktamar Tani, Reb Hoshia, Hikish Aleba Cornus. Reb Hoshia learns that he hit on the tile with a hammer of some type. The Yotzes Eish, and fire came out of it. The Sarfasa in the bird. Tani Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakishaimer, Beis Aroinis Hayimahalchen in Yisrael b'Midbar. There were two Aroinis, two Orins that they carried with them in the Midbar. Let me see the Gimel. Echad Shahayu Luchais Nisunais L'Soifai. One set of Luchais, one Orin had the Luchais inside it. Echad Shahayu Shivrei Luchais Nisunais L'Soifai. And the other Orin carried the broken Luchais, the first Luchais. Zeh Shahayu Luchais. Let's go back here. Zeh Shahayu Luchais B'Soifai. that would be taken to war with them and back in. It would gather with them. Turn the page. That would go with them wherever they have to go. What does that mean? I didn't get this far. So I'm not sure what this means. Let me see if I can see what the article says. Let's see what we have there. We'll see, and sometimes we'll see with them. I'm not sure what that means. We'll see with them. Does he say anything over there? He has a long sticker over there.
Yeah, the art scroll says that this is it should be deleted. This Upamim Shaya, according to the Taklin.
Hadithin. Okay, so the Taklin takes it out. Yeah, the like I seen them. It says over here. The like I seen the Upamim Shaya Misrayim on. Okay, so let's go back. Rabbon Amri Arin Hashem Haya. There was Arin Echad Haya. There was only one Arin. There weren't two Arins. Upam Achas Yatza B'mei Eli. Only once they took it out to war in the times of Eli. V'Nashba, and that's when it was captured. The Karyim Messiah Rabbanon with Psukim that support the Rabbanon Svara that there was only one Arin, and that when they went after Muhammad got captured, because it says Oy Lanu woe to us Miyat Zileni Miyat Alakim Adir Ma'ila. So let me just see what the pasuk says inside. Vav Oy Lanu Miyat Zilenu Miyat Alakim Adir Ma'ila Elahem Alakim Makim Es Mitzrayim B'Chol Makim HaMidbar. So I'm not even sure who said that. Eli said that, or the Goyim said that? So what does it say? It says, Mila Deloy Chamin Min Yemeyan, something you never saw before. So Leroy Yemeyan, Upam Achad, Zebel Vad, Hushayotza, Uchrabonim. So they're saying they never saw anything like this, so it must be that the Aron was never taken out. It was only taken out at that time. We also have arrived at Abudam and Lakish that there were two Aronis, which was the first Shita. And the pasuk is, it says, Vayomer Shol Lachia, Hagisha Aroin Elakim, bring the Aron, the Aron Bekirisi Aron Mahaya. The Aron was in Kirisi Aron at that time. So how could he bring the Aron over there, wherever he was? Ma'avdin Rabbanan. So what are the Rabbanan going to do with this Raya? So let's just see the Takum Bekirisi Aron. Haya Oz, Achelu David Misham. The Aron was in Kirisi Aron until David brought it back. My Hagisha, what does it mean, bring it close so I can see it? The Mashrush Haya Sham. Mashrush was there where Shaul was. And Shaul was talking about the Aron that was with them in the Muhammad, and the other Aron, in fact, wasn't Kirisi Aron. So my of the Rabbanan. So what are the Rabbanan going to do? The Gishelai Hitzitz. So I'm not sure what the Takum says. Yesh Meforshim. Let's see what the Takum says. Yesh Meforshim. The Aron Koi al Aron Shatzitz o Shatzitz Munachbad. It's the Aron of the Tzitz. I'm sorry, I didn't read it right. So it's referring to the Aron of the Tzitz. So I guess there was a special box that the Tzitz was in, and that's what it's referring to. Okay, I guess we're at 6:52 already. We better stop here. All right, Shkoyach.
Yeah,
No, it was